Hey, we're here.
We are.
Welcome to a live stream. Feels like weeks since we've done a live stream. I think it's been a week and a half because we had those public holidays last week, which took out the Friday one. And I think Wednesday because of, I was away.
You were?
I was away, that's right. And we couldn't do it on the Wednesday.
Because it was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I think the previous Friday we did run one, didn't we?
We did.
So, yeah. So, apologies for that. We didn't have any last week, but we are back again and we are firing. Although I think I'm still a little flat. I don't know about you, Rubes, because we're halfway through the world tour. And it has been amazing. Both days. The day in Hobart, that was magnificent. And the weather was beautiful. And it was a really good crowd that gathered there, a little bit smaller than Brisbane, but it was a great group of people with some very challenging questions, which was excellent. And then we had those ones, the one up in Brisbane, which was pretty wild. That went quite a ways into the night, that one.
Yeah. The event people are kind of starting to get a little bit, are you still running this?
Yeah, so, yeah, if you were there at either of those parts of the world tour, feel free to chip in on the chat on the side there and make comment as to how you think it went. And if you're coming to the next one, so I saw someone in there saying they're looking forward to the Adelaide one, which is on Sunday. Hang on to your hats. It's going to be good fun. How about you, Rubes? You recovered yet?
A little bit. I've bounced a little bit, but we're back into the store today, and it feels kind of weird to have this kind of pause in the middle. But we'll see how we go. I am glad for that pause in the middle. You know, we've said a few times. I don't think online yet, but there's kind of all of us have kind of thought a little for rock stars and things like that do night after night after night. It's like, oh geez,
yeah, we did 2 nights and took a bit of recovering, I think, after that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty sad, really.
But it has been fun. Got some good content and, chatted with some of you lovely people.
Yeah, it was great fun. I've just lost all the chat. No, there it is. It's back again. So one of the big tips I can give people is when you come up and introduce yourself, if you've got a handle, tell me the handle as well as the name, because quite a few people come up and say, oh, hi, Michael, and we'll get chatting for a bit. And, they've introduced themselves as Bill Smith or whatever. And then partway through the chat, they'll go, oh, yeah, I commented on your live stream or on one of your videos. My handle is X. And I'll go, right, now I know who we're talking to.
I do sometimes wonder if that's something they want to keep to themselves, though, just to kind of size you up before having you figure out that they're someone you've been giving a little bit of a shtick to for a while, yeah.
Yeah, look, I reckon we should make up badges, though, and people can write, their handle on their badge, and that way I'll go, I know who you are. I know who to give a hard time to. So, Dr. Bullion, you said you're coming to the Adelaide one. Make sure you identify yourself when you introduce yourself, and I'll know who you are then. All good stuff. All right, so for those who are new to a Wednesday live stream, Wednesday is usually different to the Friday live stream. Wednesday, it's just myself with Ruben chipping in the background. And what we tend to do is try and hit all the questions. So rather than a bit more relaxed, which we are on a Friday, we try, not that we ever get really serious.
No relaxation on a Wednesday.
We don't ever get very serious at all, but we'll kind of just rapid fire as much as we can through the questions that you've got. So if you've got a burning question that you want to ask, no matter how sticky it is, pitch it in there and we will try and answer it. Quite often we miss ones because the live chat can actually move pretty quickly on there. So sometimes it's not that we're skipping your question, it's just that we've missed it. It's the screen slid up and yours got missed. Don't be frightened if that's the case. We haven't answered it after 5 or 10 minutes. Just slide it in again and we'll try and catch it on the second time round. Alrighty. So have we got any questions there? Somebody asked about the 5-ounce trumps. They're basically done. We didn't know... We couldn't get hold of enough of them is the short answer.
Those and the buffaloes.
Yeah. Oh, the buffs have gone as well.
Gone as well.
Okay. I knew they'd go fairly quick, but The problem is, while these things are unlimited mintages, quite often you can't get, they'll only do a couple of runs of them. They won't do excessive runs. And so you'll only be able to buy a few hundred to a few thousand at a time. And with the popularity of something like the Trump, I love him or hate him. It wouldn't have mattered if I brought in 10 times the amount we brought in. They were still going to go relatively quickly. So if you got one, congratulations. If you missed out, well, I can only apologise.
Currently, there are still the other sizes available.
The ones and
is
twos.
kind of what I'd point you towards.
Good. Yeah. Somebody else was Urban Aerials here, was hoping for 1/10 silver would come in with the Trumps. I was hoping too. I am still chasing some 1/10 silver, and I believe I have a lead on it. But again, the Trumps took 3 months to come in, Rubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably going to take a good 2 to 3 months before they appear. So don't hold your breath on those.
Urban also asks, is everyone having trouble getting stock in? A lot of bullion shops are low on supply and not just us. So kind of what's the go at the moment in the industry on that?
So look, the demand for silver has gone through the roof, particularly gold, not so much, but the demand has just gone ridiculous. Last Friday, I think it was, not the public holiday, so the one before, we had 6 of us serving in the shop from pretty much as soon as we opened, although it was a little bit after that, but not much, all the way through to close. We were just chunking them out, 6 of us going flat out, and we always had a queue through the whole day. It was insane. And at the end of the day, the comment was made of, we've sold out. We actually don't have anything. What are we going to do Monday when we open? So I spent a lot of the weekend chasing up, trying to get new stock.
It's one thing to order it, but then it actually has to arrive in here with us. And when you're talking lead times like 3 months for the Trumps.
But look, even the domestic stuff, like we've got stuff on order with Perth Mint. I think they owe me somewhere close to 2 ton of 1 kilo bars at the moment in silver. Like you place an order, it doesn't get delivered the next day. We're lucky if it takes 4 to 5 weeks to come through. So we keep a very healthy stock of kilo bars at all times in the shop. We're talking well over a ton as a rule. We're out. I think when I breezed through the shop just before we came live stream, I think we had 1 box left, which is 10 kilos. So it's pretty slim pickings at the moment, and we are literally lurching from delivery to delivery. Like, this has arrived fantastic. We've got something to sell. So you can still pre-order. So for the basics, not for the specialty stuff, but for the basics like, your kilo silver bar, your 1 ounce gold bar, those types of things, we're happy to take pre-orders on, because we know while we don't have them today, they will turn up in, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks' time, and we'll be able to supply them then. And that way you get to lock in the price if that's what you're after today. But otherwise it's hang on. We will get them. They are on order. As soon as they arrive, we'll get them listed and available through the shop.
BDK wants to know about 1 ounce gold Britannias. Andrew emailed back after they asked about some Royal Mint stock, and apparently we've got some of those through.
We do.
Will they be put on the website anytime soon?
I'm hoping to get them up tonight, but believe it or not, we've been flat out, and neither Ruben or myself have had chance to get near the internet to actually list them. So hopefully we'll see them up tonight. If not, it will be probably Thursday. We'll get them listed.
Have the kilo cookers arrived? Sorry, I should have asked a longer question so you could actually have a second to take a sip there. Sorry about that.
Look, the kilo, no one has kilo kookaburras yet. Perth Mint is even on back order. So, no, they haven't arrived. I'm happy to take pre-orders on them, and I meant to, before we went live on this, Rubes, was actually create the listing for it, and I haven't done it yet. So, cool your heels. I will make the listing tonight and make them available. We've got several hundred for an allocation, so we're not going to sell out in a minute, so don't stress. They will be available, but no one has them yet. As far as I'm aware, Perth hasn't approved any for shipping, even to themselves yet. So the consensus seems to be that no one's going to have them in stock until about mid-October.
Good stuff. Do we have any Pamp gold at the moment, someone asks, or coming through?
No, I don't have any Pamp gold coming through yet. We do have some Philharmonic gold, but that's in coins, obviously not in bars. We also have some, again, not gold. We've got some Valcambi Platinum has arrived, and it's slightly We bought it with slightly damaged packaging, so I'm hoping, I haven't seen the actual final invoice on that one, but I'm hoping there'll be some cheap 100-gram platinum available late this week or early next week. So if you're in the market for some cheaper 100-gram platinum, keep your eyes on the website. You will see some come through very soon.
Good stuff. McDuncan wants to know if we have a spare kilo Perth Mint capsule. Yeah, you got a kilo buyback coin from us, but the capsule's gotten a little bit smashed.
If it got smashed in the post, we will find you a replacement.
Easy done.
You just send us an email saying you made the comment on live stream. Michael promised that he'd get you a capsule for it, and we'll sort it out.
Did we manage to get any of the remaining 1/4 ounce gold Tudor Lions? Or have we moved on to the Yale?
I have no idea.
I haven't seen anything about them. Just as a quick comment, I can quickly look that up.
I'm going to say no, purely because I don't know. So I'm leaning towards a no. But certainly worth asking the question of the wholesalers to see if I can get any more in.
Yeah, they've been a popular one, which is going to be good, which is a good sign for the rest of the series, hopefully.
Yeah.
There was one here I missed asking about any 10 kilo silver.
Oh, that seems to be a popular question at the moment. I've fielded this one a number of times in the last week or so. We've actually got a couple of 10 kilo bars in stock. We've actually just done a buyback, and Ruben and I are going to do a video on it, of a 20. It's an old 20 kilo bar, and it's got all the character flaws of an old bar, so it doesn't test out at 4.9 silver. I think you get all sorts of mixed readings all over the bar depending on where you take the reading off it. It's got all those dings and marks and pawl lines and all that sort of stuff of a classic older bar. So we'll do a bit of a video on that. So keep an eye out for that. As far as 10 kilo bars that we can sell, I think the 10 kilos that have arrived are pre-sold. But I'll have to check that up. If you're chasing one, let me know, and I can certainly get one in for you.
Fanta reckons you're looking good today.
What are you after?
Adam Rose is thanking us for the stream. It helps them have a bit of an idea of what to keep powder dry for and things like that. So it's always a little bit of a useful glimpse into what we've got coming.
There's some great stuff coming up. Next week is the release of the Lunar Rabbit. No, you won't be able to order them straight away. I think Perth Mints asked us to not do any pre-orders until the middle of October, and then expect a delivery at the end of October, but absolutely keep some powder dry for that. What else? We've got the Yales coming. There's something else.
I'm trying to think now as well.
Yeah, there's something else coming down the pike as well. So
we'll have those kookaburras and whatever once they actually arrive. That'll be good. So
look, there's some kookaburras arrived, and everybody's going to say, so what? This is the last of the kookaburras we bought out the Perth Mint
in
for
the 1
everything
ounce,
they had in the 1 ounce.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we were talking about the kilos, were we? Yeah,
No. I'll just make it because someone also asked about the 10 ounce kookaburra as well. So just to clarify that for them.
Perth Mint said to me they were going to release those in September.
It's starting to get a little close to the end of September.
I'm suspecting they're not doing it now, so that's a question we'll ask them on Monday when we're over there. But yeah, so if you're in the market for the 2022 1 ounce silver kookaburra, we do have a whole stack. I think it was about 16,000 we bought. And they believe it or not, they are selling fast. I'm getting a little bit stressed about them. But that will be the last of the kookaburras that you're going to buy. So if you've been holding off getting the 2022 kookaburra, you need to grab it fairly soon because it's the end of the run, and Perth Mint's prepping for the 2023 cook, which I hear rumour is not on a bird bath.
Just rumours at this stage. This is not kookaburra design advice. Do we know the date for the pre-orders of the Lunar Rabbits, or is that still a little bit up in the air?
It's around about the 17th. Actually, look, I think it's going to take me too long to find it because I'm on stupid me brought in my tablet computer instead of my actual computer.
Portability sacrificed for
that's right.
Natural efficiency.
So if we go this way, I may be able to find the announcement. pretty quick with any luck. Delayed
Dean's
release.
asking
Here we
about
go.
the 250 gram East India silver bars with a ship on it. I don't think we have any more of those hiding out there.
Yes, we do.
We will have to. Well, okay. Apparently, Michael's saying to the contrary.
Unfortunately, they're damaged. Is the problem?
Oh, that always leaves things interesting for us.
Yeah, so that's why we actually had a number of them come in, and we thought it would be a larger release than what it was, because there was some damage came through on it. So disappointing when that happens, but it's one of the risks you take when you order these things, unfortunately.
Have we ever thought about doing a live bullion auction as a part of these, or do you? Because we have spoken in the past about how we'd like to add that, or the plan is to add that to the website in future. Do you want to kind of leave it as a part of that, or would you ever do it as a live thing?
No, we've done the odd live auction. Do you remember those, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've done a couple of live auctions. I don't think we'll do too many more. I don't know is probably the short answer.
The advantage of them is that, assuming we can kind of get it all focused and you can see it well, you can kind of, very clearly see, the condition of it, if you want it, all that kind of thing, as opposed to just some photos. But
yeah. So here we go. I found the email. So the embargo release date is the 3rd of October, which is the Monday coming, which is when we're going to be in Perth.
Woohoo!
So we're going to roll into the Perth Mint. We're going to give them a hard time. They've made the availability date and release date the same, which is the 17th of October. I'm just trying to... Yeah, so this is the date that the orders can be placed at a retail level. And then they're promising that they will be available to ship as of the 17th. Then they finish that off with Perth Mint strives to make the release and availability date the same. However, this is not always possible. And I suspect that will be the case now. So you will be able to place orders as of the 17th. We will make sure that it's available on the web and on through the store and through phones and emails. You'll be able to place your pre-orders, but I wouldn't expect to get your sticky fingers on them until later in the month towards the end. So even if Perth Mint's running on time, it means that they probably won't ship them till the 17th, which means the gold we'll get almost straight away. The silver we won't get for probably a week. It takes about that long to cross the Nullarbor. So be aware of that, but they will be available for pre-order as of the 17th. And just remember that they're not releasing the kilo silver, the 5 ounce silver, or the 1/20th gold, or the 10 kilo silver on the 3rd and the 17th. That will be later on down the track.
TCW asks, if I bought, for example, 1 ounce of unallocated silver or gold, if I see a coin or bar design I like that's on offer, can I convert the unallocated to a specific coin through your website or email?
What you can do it both ways. Email, phone, come into the store, or on the website. To do it on the web, just place the order for the coin. So let's say you're hanging out for the lunar rabbit to turn up. And you want to lock in today's price because you think it's a bargain price today. So you buy 1 ounce of unallocated today. Then on the 17th, you see that we release them for pre-order. You buy one as you would normally. Don't pay for it. And then just in the notes section, just say, can I redeem 1 ounce of gold for payment for this? We'll receive that message at this end. We'll deduct the spot price off that ounce of gold. And then you will get a new invoice that will say you owe us. I actually don't know what the margin is yet, but let's say it's $100 above spot. So you'll get the invoice reissued to you for $100, and you just pay that, and away you go. You've locked in and got your 1 ounce gold rabbit for that. So that way it doesn't matter what spot does in the meantime. You've locked in the price because the premium will stay the same throughout the whole release.
Urban's hiding behind the YouTube handle, but he's up to 5 months on storage and wants to know if he can get away until the rabbits come in.
Mate, I don't know. With the hard time you give me,
there is a lot of firsts in there, though. It's got to win some good graces.
Yeah, all right. We'll let it slide.
Do we have an allocation for the platinum rabbit?
Yeah, we do.
Good stuff. As fast out as they'll go anyway.
Yeah, look, I will be amazed if they last 30 minutes. Yeah,
it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, we're trying as hard as we can to get hold of more stock. We will pull all sorts of silly tricks. I'm going to have a few conversations with Perth while we're over there to see if I can squeeze the lemon more and try and get some more juice out of it. I don't know if I'm allowed to state what my allocation is. I'm probably not, am I?
He says hunting.
It's not going to last 30 minutes.
Yeah. No. Enjoy the mad scramble when that comes out. Someone's asking if we could inform the viewers and myself of storage cost per annum. Thanks.
So you get 3 months of free storage. Everyone gets that. And then after that, we look at charging 0.5% per annum for storage at the moment. That will be reviewed in the not too distant future. But if you're paying it now, you'll lock it in for the 12 months. So 0.5% of the value of whatever you're storing here. And that covers the storage fee and the insurance fee and all that sort of stuff. So it's fully insured. We don't charge anything over and above that 0.5%.
Fanta reckons if you bring Perth some flowers, your chances are better.
Yeah, we'll try.
Chocolates, flowers. Well,
look, I'm open to bribing people over there. If Perth Mint's watching this, just send me a list of what I have to do, and I'm quite happy to bribe you.
Someone here got a FedEx delivery from the US. FedEx charge a total of $88 for import charges. Entry charge, they've listed the specific charge there. FedEx said that these are compulsory ATO charges. Is that correct?
Probably yes, without knowing the specifics of what you've imported. FedEx will have an administration charge, border control, and I've forgotten their name now. They have a standard charge per parcel as well, and then if it's over a certain amount, you probably would have been slugged GST as well. So yeah, it doesn't. If I showed you the bills that we pay for import duties, it would make your hair fall out. It actually, funnily enough, a lot of those fees, like the processing fee, they are pretty good about from a retailer's perspective, because we import large numbers. It's not graduated, so even though we might be bringing in, a shipment worth $250,000, they charge me the same amount on the processing fee as they charge you. So, as somebody who brings in larger quantities, I'm quite happy about that. It makes it more equitable, but they charge me in other ways as well. What I'm getting at probably is up your orders, make your orders bigger, and it makes that charge more worthwhile.
Absolutely. Paul Baker wants to know if 1,000-ounce silver bars are available at the moment.
Yes, they are. Okay, the short answer is we can certainly get them in. The longer answer is that we have to buy them in by the pallet load, which is there's 30 on a pallet. It's just shy of a ton. So we don't tend to bring them in too often. But if you're after half a dozen or a dozen 1,000-ounce bars, absolutely, we can get them in. The alternative is, and this is usually what I say to people when they come in and say, look, I want to buy 1,000-ounce bar because that's the cheapest way to buy it. What I usually do is try and do a matching deal for them on 10-kilo bars. It means we make far less profit on it, but it means that you can get the price that you want, the quantity you want, and I don't have to ship over a whole ton of 1,000-ounce bars in one hit out of wherever we're getting them from.
Is there a coin release for 2023 that you are really looking forward to? Any mint? And if so, what is it? Any that you're allowed to talk about, potentially?
Off the top of my head, no. I can't think of anything specifically. I look forward to all of them. Like I'm hanging out to see the Quokka release for next year because I love their designs. I love watching their Super Pit and the way that's growing. I think their design is getting better each year. The Lunar series always makes me curious. I don't mind their designs, but their Tiger I think they nailed, the Gold Tiger, but there's some of their other designs. They're okay, but they're not stunning. I love looking for the new Koala and the new Kookaburra releases, but they're not later on in the year. But yeah, there's no specific coins. The Canadian Mint Klondike, what they bring out next year, that'll be good. If they do the
the Creatures of the North.
Yeah, Creatures of the North series. Yeah. They're always great. The Tudor Beasts, I'm hoping they nail that one. Curious just to see what designs we get for like the changeover of the Monarch. That will be interesting. There'll be some really good ones in that, and there'll be some absolute clangers.
I have to admit to being a little bit excited now that Little Coin Shop has gotten some stuff in from New Zealand. I'm hoping that's going to open a little bit of the floodgates a little bit, and we're going to be able to see some of that cool kind of licensed stuff out of there. Cause,
New Zealand Mint really hit the licensing stuff pretty hard. Yeah. So, which is good.
It's a different part of the community, and it absolutely won't be for everyone. But for a young stacker such as myself, I have to admit to to enjoying some of that stuff.
Did someone say Star Wars?
What? Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here. BDK, Michael, I was emailed back from Andrew asking if the Royal Mint was in stock. He told me the 1 ounce Gold Britannias are in.
We did that one.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. And you said yes, you were hoping to list them tonight. We just haven't had a chance.
I've still got a hangover from Hobart and Brisbane. It's not working for me, I'm telling you.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Any more gold Perth Mint 5 ounce coins on the horizon? Do they do many besides the Super Pit in just the standard
Pit,
bullion? I know they will touch it occasionally from a numismatic standpoint. But
no, they don't, which is why the Super Pit's so popular, because it's pretty much the only 5 ounce bullion coin around. In fact, I can't think of any of the other mints that are producing one at the moment. It's definitely a hole in the market. They could definitely up their game on that one.
There's a couple of holes in
So S is asking me, why not much bullion on your website? 2 issues there. One is deliveries. People don't like it when we list things for pre-order, so we don't tend to do that. The second thing is we just haven't had the time to actually get them up on the web. It was touch and go whether we actually had time for the live stream today, and that was the priority.
A couple of things, but it's been a while since we've been up, and we didn't want to leave everyone hanging in the lurch.
Yeah, so I like this question too from Drew Murray. Hypothetically, if I buy the Rabbit 1 ounce platinum and the price drops out of the platinum market, would it be fair to say the Rabbit coin would at least hold its value regardless of the spot? As close to possible, I will guarantee that it will go up in value. Even if platinum went to $1, I firmly believe that before Christmas you are going to see the platinum Rabbit selling well over the $2,000, and I reckon it would be getting closer to the $3,000 going on the pricing of the Ox, the Mouse, the Tiger, all those sorts of things. Once it becomes a collector coin, so it leaves the bullion market, we sell it as a bullion coin. We don't sell them as collector coins. But once the collectors start getting putting their weight behind it further down the track, irrespective of the value of the metal behind it, I want that coin because I want it to complete my collection, and I will pay the money for it. So
I actually think, I mean, this again, not guaranteed or anything like that, but if platinum price does drop quite significantly in that case, you're actually probably going to find there's more people that go, oh, platinum's a great price at the moment. I'll start my collection of, so if it's, sub $1,000, let's say, they'll go, well, hey, let me try and chase up some of those previous years. Oh, that's what they're worth. Because it almost doesn't factor in spot at that point, and that's it. The more people are looking for them, it's basic supply and demand at that point.
Absolutely. And I mean, to give you a slightly different example, and one that frustrates me a little bit, is the American Eagle. Spot has dropped substantially since we were stocking the Eagle, and we were charging the high 40s then. Spot has dropped quite a bit more since that, and the Eagle is above 50 now, and they're still selling like hotcakes. So it gets to a point where coins disengage themselves from the spot price, and spot becomes irrelevant. And I firmly believe, again, you can't guarantee these things, but I firmly believe that, even if spot went to $1, it would not impact the collector price in a negative way.
Are all the Buffaloes gone, or do we have more? And are the Yale of Beauforts on the way?
Yale of Beauforts are on the way. I was having a discussion with a wholesaler this morning about when they'll arrive, and the only answer I could nail down was soon. So yeah, they're coming. What was the other one? The
Buffaloes.
The Buffs are sold out, I believe. I don't know how close to the wire we went. There may be. No, look, I'm going to say they're sold out at this stage. We will source some more, but they will be weeks away. They won't be arriving in the next week or two.
Good stuff. 1 ounce Platinum Queen's Virtues. Any on order coming through?
I don't know is the short answer. Not that I'm aware of off the top of my head.
Is it worth getting low mintage bullion coins graded?
Tentatively, yes.
I think a lot of it, at least my answer would be, the condition of them, if
Absolutely.
and mostly your avenues or your plans for selling it at some stage.
Yeah. Look, grading coins is not big in Australia yet, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now. It's not big yet. It is in the overseas markets, US, Europe, China. They love their graded coins. It will come to the Australian market, so which is why I said tentatively yes. I think that if you get coins graded now and you can get high graded coins, I think further down the track, as it becomes more acceptable and standard in Australia, I think the price of that will go up purely because it's graded a higher grade and the recognition will be there. I hesitate to get things like the 1 ounce lunar rabbits coming out next week. I wouldn't. I don't think it's a waste of time, but I wouldn't be in a hurry to get those graded because there's going to be, like around the world, there'll be a whole stack of people that will get theirs graded. A whole stack of companies will get them graded. They'll send thousands of them to the various grading companies and have them all slabbed and graded. But your more slightly unusual ones, like if you picked up last year's double Pixiu, getting that graded would be something I'd do. I don't know, help me. Emus, the emu is a low mintage one. I wouldn't be against getting them slabbed. 5 ounce gold super pit, I'd get that slabbed.
Ooh, that'll be a chunky slab.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because that's it. It doesn't really add anything to just the bullion value, but that's it. Selling into that collector's market, particularly in Australia, if there is kind of less of a particular coin slabbed out there, could be worth the effort.
Yeah.
Any Queen Memorial Special Edition coins?
Nothing that I would break a leg over yet.
Do you think there will be more gold jeweled coins made in the near future?
I'm sorry, mate. I was trying to read a question myself. I missed what you said.
Any more gold jeweled coins made in the future?
They will.
Yeah.
Perth Mint does that. We should try and get a look at some when we're over there. Because I don't think you've seen them in real life, have you, Ruben?
I haven't, because it was the koi.
Absolutely
was
stunning.
That the jeweled?
Yep, the koi was jeweled. They did a tiger that was jeweled. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, they both were. I loved both of them.
Yeah.
They're just because they're a three-dimensional coin. You've got the flat platelet of the coin itself, and then they have the animal coming out of the coin. And
insanely low mintage numbers, if I'm.
Oh yeah, they're like 10.
Yeah.
But they're worth gazillions. But they are a work of art.
I just want one for footage. Someone else can have it. I'll take some footage for us, and then we'll send it to someone else.
Yeah. No, they're good.
Phil's wanting to know when we're starting our own grading service.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I don't believe you're going to get a decent grading service within Australia. We don't have the depth of knowledge. The amount of people that work for your PCGS, your NGC, there are hundreds and hundreds of graders working pretty much 24/7. I just don't think we'd be able to drag that level of knowledge together within the country.
I reckon we just start a bush pig one where it's just you looking at it and it's gone from shocking, she's all right, off like a frog in a sock, and those are the different levels.
Great.
Maybe not to the same caliber as some of the others, but
Peter graced me guide, the Kimberley sunrise, and they did a sunset. They did 2 sunsets, I think, and a sunrise, or it was the other way around. The Boab, beautiful coin, and really it was a good investment, that one. Went up nicely in value.
Drew's comment here, with the tech available, why are they still grading them by hand? Surely an AI camera would be better than the human eye. That's an interesting point.
It is. I disagree. I think the technology could get there eventually, but there is a knack, there's a skill to grading. It's a little bit like the operation of an XRF. Like you can use an XRF badly, and get some good results sometimes and bad results other times. Whereas you get a good operator that knows how to use it, they know how to use it. They can get accurate results every time. They can know if it's giving false readings and why, whether that be we need to drill this coin because it's giving me, something not a good feeling about it, or whether it be, look, I need to take this from a different angle, or, those types of things. It's the same with grading. Yes, you can look at it and like AI can say, yeah, it's got, a scratch here. The scratch is this deep. It's, it's so many millimeters across. It's going to affect it this way. But to actually look at a coin and go, okay, this has got toning on it, but the toning actually adds to the value of it, or the patterning is such a way that it detracts from the value of it, or it's not as simplistic. It needs a good eye, a good experienced eye to look at it. And I don't believe AI is that standard yet. Doesn't mean it won't be in the future.
There's an interesting one here from Urban. They have some of the 1 ounce silver brumbies, and one of them has an extra muscle detail none of the others do. I'm certain it isn't a scratch or a dent. What are your thoughts?
Look, it's certainly possible. One of the advantages and disadvantages of bullion coins is that they are not as heavily scrutinised when they go through the process as like your proofs and ultra high reliefs and all that sort of stuff. So the chance of a misprint, misstamp is a lot higher. Again, this is one of those things almost harking back to the previous question about AI. It depends on how it presents. Some of those errors present in a way that increases the value, and sometimes it decreases the value of it. It would certainly be worthwhile getting someone to run their eye over it and maybe give an opinion and a possible valuation.
Now I'm going to put the live ones on pause just for a second because I've got an email one here from someone who attended our Brisbane meetup. But they had a couple of questions on top of the ones they asked at the meetup that they wanted us to go through. So I might space these out a bit just so we do get a chance to hit some of the live ones.
Yep.
But number one is the premium attached to bullion purchases is relatively transparent to the consumer, which allows shopping around for the best purchase price. Unfortunately, it's rare that dealers also advertise buyback prices, often using phrasing along the lines of below spot. And I'm just going to add in here for a second. Obviously, in a second, I'm going to ask you to potentially comment about some other businesses that you may not be able to.
Yeah,
that's all right. In general terms...
By the way, we don't do below spot, we do spot.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be the best plug there. In general terms, though, what would be considered fair value below spot price when selling 1 ounce of gold and or 1 ounce of silver, or what is a typical spread that consumers should realistically be hoping to achieve? It'd be great to understand if there's any rule of thumb there.
What I think is fair is spot price, which is why we do it. And it frustrates me that it's not standard across the industry, because why would you sell it for less than spot? Sure, there's times when even we buy back at less than spot. Somebody comes in with half a ton of silver in a form that I can't move easily. Yeah, I'm going to say, look, I can't. I don't want to tie up that much money in premium for an extended period of time. Therefore, we're going to give you a component less. So there are certain circumstances, but as a normal state, I would say spot is the minimum that you should accept for just a normal 1 ounce transaction. What is the standard out there? Somewhere between 95 and 97% of spot, unfortunately, which is why, and we keep banging on about it, Bullion Now does spot, and I know in Brisbane that doesn't really work for you. If you can get the product to us, then absolutely we'll pay you spot, we'll transfer it straight into your bank account. But yeah, somewhere between 95 to 97% is fairly normal. Even up to 99 you can find at different times. But yeah, I would argue go for spot, particularly if you've got something like an eagle or a maple, something along those lines, and they're not badly dinged up or
just a
anything.
higher premium item in general.
Yeah, I wouldn't be accepting less than spot for a coin.
I'll jump back into a couple of the live ones before I hit the rest of those email ones. Are we getting any more 1 gram platinum in?
1 gram platinum.
1 gram platinum. So we did have some.
I thought we still had some.
But I'm guessing since the question is being asked, either we don't have, or they're asking if there's any other varieties coming through.
I'm sure we've still got 1 gram platinum. I'm just looking it up. I still have 12 in stock.
There you go.
So I'm guessing they're just not up on the web. I don't have any more 1 grammers on order. Yeah, there's none on the web at the moment. I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal.
You going to put some up?
No, I'm just going to put 3 up for now. There you go. There's 3 on the web right now. And I'm only putting 3 up even though it says I got 12 because I always like to eyeball them to make sure it's not a typo or something. You know, we've accidentally sold, like we've put it through as a 1 ounce instead of a 1 grammer. Accidentally, we've used the wrong SKU. Therefore, we've actually got 1 less than we thought we had. So there's 3 up there. If you need any more than 3, give us a ring and we'll sort it out.
Are we getting in any of those Korean coins?
No, not yet, but I'd love to. I think some of them look fantastic.
Any 1/20th golds coming in soon?
1/20th gold. Well, we've got some 1/20th gold tigers, I think, now, haven't we?
Potentially, I think that size is still available. And at some stage after the release of the rabbit, we'll have those as well, just not quite on launch.
Yeah, they won't be on launch. 1/20ths, they're not an odd size, but they're a slightly odd size. I think when we bring in fractional gold from overseas, I think most of them are 1/25ths, aren't they, Rubes? Like the Phillies and that?
The Philharmonics are 25ths, yeah.
And I'm sure that I've ordered some of those, and the Phillies have arrived, so...
And yeah, there is still some 1/20th tigers up on the website at the moment.
Just looking if I got the 1/25th. I did. So we actually have some 1/25th gold Philharmonics in at the moment. We haven't done the release of it, but they have actually arrived. So keep your eye out for those. They'll appear on the web pretty soon.
Paul's asking, I'm still not exactly sure how to phrase the question, but wanting to know if anyone wants to buy 10 kilo bars. I think wondering if we can pull enough people together to get you to put through an order of some 10 kilo bars.
I'm more than happy to put in an order for 10 kilo bars. I just have to find a refinery that'll fill it in a timely manner is the problem. But yeah, I'll get some. Don't stress, mate. Keep your eyes on them, and I will get some 10 kilo bars in the very near future.
This is potentially one you're not going to be able to answer yet, but do we have any idea on prices on the Luna stuff yet?
No, but the pricing shouldn't be much different, a couple of dollars maybe, to what the Tiger is now. So I haven't been notified of any massive increases in premium, so I'm not expecting any jumps there. So it should be about the pricing that we're going to see at the moment. And I can give you what the pricing would be right now if you like, because I'll bring up the Tiger. So a 5 ounce would be, well, they're not releasing the 5 ounce yet, so let's skip over that one. So if it were released today, your kilo would be 1,080. Your platinum will be around $15.65. Your 2 ounce Tiger in silver will be $79. So these numbers will work for the rabbit. The half ounce will be $24.50. The 1 ounce will be approximately $38.50. In the silver, the 1 ounce would be $2,668. Sorry, did I say 2 ounce then? I meant to say 1 ounce. The 1 ounce gold would be $2,668. The 2 ounce will be $5,327. The half ounce would be about $13.74. The quarter ounce would be about $7.32. The 1/10, $3.27. And the 1/20th, $1.77. And the 10 ounce gold would be $26,500.
If you missed those, you may just go back at the end to run through those if you want to.
So look, the prices will be plus or minus a little bit. No, let's be honest, will be plus a little bit, but it'll be around about that price, if anything.
Let me hit the next one in this email question. You've mentioned a few times that gold is a great mechanism for international currency conversion. I travel quite frequently for work, so this interested me a lot. My typical process is to go to the CBA, give them Australian dollars and get XYZ. And when I return, I do the opposite. They charge 1% in transaction fees in both directions.
It kills you, and they give you a lousy exchange rate as well.
This is the follow-up. So I feel like this is better than whatever you'd get with bullion. Assuming you start with AUD, if doing the bullion, you'd have to pay a premium on the purchase and probably receive less than spot on the other end. I've worked through some examples on my end, and generally speaking, it works out to around 4.3% spread in the conversion process. Which is obviously more than just going to CBA. In these cases, I'm assuming that most international bullion dealers aren't as fair as Bullion Now. I'm hoping you might comment on if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, or what other considerations need to be factored into such calculations.
Okay. I actually did a video on this when I last went to Germany, which was 2019, just prior to COVID hitting, 2019, 2020. And it was a significant difference between converting it and I did two conversions of AUD into euros. One at one of the kiosks just in town here, and one out at the airport. I converted over, so I didn't use CBA. I did the equivalent of 1 ounce of gold, and then I took 1 ounce over to Germany with me, and I converted it over there, and I was several $100 better off. Several €100, like 200 or 300 euro better off by taking the gold over Germany than I was on either of the cash transactions. Because you've got to look at it. It's not just the 1%. You also get an absolutely terrible, and I know that I did a conversion with one of the banks the other day because we had to pay a refinery USD, and the current USD rate was 65 cents, and I got 63 and a bit out of the bank. So, and I lost 4% purely in the transfer, like in the exchange rate, never mind the charges around that. So I would argue that you are going to lose from my experience, you're going to lose far more by doing a transfer. When I go, if I can't find that footage, and that's more than likely, what I will do is I'm anticipating going to the World Money Fair in January next year, and we will actually do a video on it, and we'll break it all down and I'll show you. But at the moment, you would pay $25.94 for an ounce of Perth Mint. So I'm going for the dearer one. And the reason I go for the dearer one is Perth Mint is recognised worldwide. So it's only about $5 dearer than a locally produced. And as I keep saying, take the brand name overseas because they recognise it. Spot price at the moment, according to Kitco. Oh, itchy nose. Sorry, guys. Right at this second, Kitco is telling me.
The only thing I'd say whilst you are looking is, to an extent though, you're right, it will depend on exactly where you're going. Because if there's no kind of bullion dealers in that space and just someone who has like a very rough interest, what we were talking about before about percentages that other places might buy back at, if you're getting absolutely done on the price they're buying back at, then, it may work out cheaper. But, yeah.
I have to say that from my experience, Australia is one, closely followed by the UK. In fact, the UK would lead us sometimes. We are the lousiest at giving buyback prices. Most other countries around the world, or a lot of other countries around the world, because gold is far more part of their culture, far more accepted as part of their financial system, there's a lot more of the transactions going along, so there's a lot more competition there. So it's not unusual to get spot price overseas for your 1 ounce gold bar. And at the moment, there is $48 difference between a buy spot price, and what we sell a Perth Mint 1 ounce bar for. So let's call it $50. If you lost $50 on the transaction, and I actually don't believe you would, so $50 divided by, let's call it 2,500 because it's a bit over that. So, and if I knew how to run a calculator, I'd be far better off. So that's 2%. I would hazard a guess as I reckon you'd lose without factoring in spot price movement. I would be surprised if you lost more than 2 to 2.5% on a normal overseas transaction, from my experience. And I have to say, taking things like kangaroos, gold I'm talking about, but gold kangaroos over to places like Germany, they will quite often pay over spot for them because they can't. It's far more difficult for them to get them over there.
MB says, placed an order on the 20th of this month. Received an email saying it's in allocated storage. However, it's not on their account, ?
I'm guessing that you placed the order via email or phone, so it was manually entered into the system. And unfortunately, because of security reasons, our website will talk to our back-end system. Our back-end system does not talk to the website system. We have to go through a third-way round. And that's so we don't get corruption of data. We don't want anyone being able to extract any of our back-end data. So there is a a break there that won't allow information to be transferred back across. So therefore, if you have placed the order over the, let's say over the phone or in store, they've put it onto our system in the back end. It will have recorded it, but the website won't have any knowledge of that transaction because the information flow doesn't go that way.
But if you've got the email saying it's in allocated storage, then it is good to go, and you can either pick it up
or have it sent out.
That's it. I've got another one on this email. Perth Mint publishes mintages for all of its bullion coins at the end of a year. Do other mints do this? And how can I find, for example, how many Britannia 2021s were produced? So, do places like the Royal Mint, Canadian Mint also keep that kind of...
Absolutely, they do. They're required to by law because they are printing currency. And they are only allowed to print X amount. So they need to know that when they've hit their limits. I don't know. I've never really gone looking for the Royal Mint production numbers and things like that. But I'd be amazed. I'd start off with Google, type in Royal Mint mintage number, bullion silver coin mintage number. And if that's not it, I'd shoot them an email. Royal Mint, the Royal Mint, the Canadian Mint, the US Mint, all the major mints, they're very good with their PR. So I'd be amazed if they didn't get back to you within a day or two with either an answer or a reason as to why they can't answer your question.
Aussie Drop Bear says, will the little coin shop get any proof platinum lunars? Now, I briefly had to mentally think for a second. Do they do a proof platinum? I don't think I've ever seen one.
No, I'm pretty sure they. Now I'm wondering if I'm confusing the eagle with the lunar, because they definitely do the eagle.
Yeah.
I want to say yes. Don't know. Rubes, do you want to hit Google?
I briefly punched it in and I couldn't see anything that came up, but that was one of the things that was confusing my memory.
Yeah.
If they do them and it's not a private mintage, I'd say absolutely it'll be something a little coin shop gets through. But we'll have to actually double check that it's an actual thing.
Yeah. Just a quick one, hook you up. We mentioned this earlier, but the Kilo Kookaburra will be available, is available for pre-order. I don't think we've flicked it onto the website yet because I have forgotten to do it before we went live. But it'll be there for Bullion Now this afternoon. And as I said earlier on, even Perth Mint is on back order on that at the moment. We're expecting approval for delivery about mid-October.
Mark Twain wants to comment on the fact that there are some things on our website that have been sale for a while now. Is that common for those to be unpopular? ? I guess more popular than a buffalo, which obviously is come and gone in the same day.
My answer is no. I don't believe we hold anything that is what I would term unpopular. More it stays online if I actually manage to secure enough stock. The 1 ounce, the 5 ounce trumps that just went through, we could only get in a couple of hundred of those, so they went relatively quickly. If I could have bought, if there was available 20,000 of them, they would have been online for probably a month or 6 weeks. Doesn't mean they're unpopular. It just means that I've actually managed to secure a decent number of supply. So that's all. All of the coins, probably the one that's been up there longest would be the James Bond, 1 ounce. And when I say we secured a lot of them, we secured a hell of a lot of those. That was right near the start of COVID, and we were basically, because we don't hedge through paper, we hedge through physical, because we don't want to get caught out in any of the paper contract shenanigans. So we needed to hedge a very large amount of silver on the day, and the only thing we could find in any sort of quantity was these James Bond 1 ounce bars. So when I say we bought a lot of them, we bought a bucket load of the things. And so people say, are they unpopular? No, we sell every day. We sell those bonds, but I just bought enough of them that meant we could keep them in supply for 18 months to 2 years.
And particularly, with something like that is very, related to how something like the movie goes or things like that. It could have been the product that literally just disappeared overnight. I think it's kind of been a bit of a ho-hum one. Urban's also then linking that to the Silver Pandas as well, and talking about the premiums on those. Which is relatively high in comparison to some of those other coins. But the key comment I'd say that you've made there, were a lot cheaper at competitors, and the last bit there I think is the key part, when they were in stock.
The problem is that a lot of competitors keep their adverts up online even when they're out of stock.
And not always continuing to update in comparison to spot price. That's the one that kills us.
That's right. So, and Perth Mints are actually they're pretty good these days, but with their updated website. But their old website, they'd leave an advert up for ages, and it wouldn't update. So, people would say to you, "Why are you charging, $40 for a 1 ounce Luna when I can go to Perth Mint and they've got last year's one for $28?" Well, they don't. Spot's doubled in the meantime. They don't have any stock. They haven't updated the advert. And, if Perth Mint had them in today, they'd be $40-something. So it's a hard one to bounce around. I know somebody asked me the other day to price match something, and I went on to that. They said, X stores got them cheaper than you have. And I went to their website, and they were correct. The advert was cheaper, but they'd had none in stock. And when I contacted the company, they went, "Oh no, we haven't had those for years. No, we haven't updated the website." So, it's a fallacy there. It's pretty rare. It does happen. It's unusual when other companies are cheaper than us. We tend to make sure we're competitive at all times. But if you do find someone that is cheaper than us, and we've mismatched for some reason, we're not frightened of you contacting us and saying, "Hey, look, they've got the half ounce Gold Tiger is $5 cheaper than you are." Okay,
Can't have that.
Yeah, we'll quite happily. Actually, I think that was the question. Did we get that question this morning? I don't know why that one sprang to mind, but somebody said some gold coin this morning was $5 cheaper somewhere else. Okay, well, I'm quite happy to match that. No worries at all. So don't be frightened of bringing those things to us.
Simbunji's rolled through. Good afternoon, boys. Hope the tour is going well.
Now, Simbunji, we had to have a conversation, didn't we? Simbunji down in Tasmania, aren't you?
That's it.
Where were you?
Too far away, apparently.
Oh, come on. You saw how far away I had to travel down there. Too far away is not good enough.
And how many of the people that were actually there were from around the northern areas?
I had to laugh. Because we had this... my wife actually hails from Launceston for several years. She lived there. And so she was quite uppity, as well as several others, were quite uppity that we were doing the meeting in Hobart, because why wouldn't you do it in Launceston? That's the centre of the universe, which I actually tend to agree with. And the conversation went back and forth, and eventually we said, "Look, we'll go down to Hobart because it's the capital city sort of thing." Of all the attendees, was it 2 or 4?
I think, whatever it was ridiculously low.
Like, a tenth of the number there were from Hobart. Everyone else was from northern Tasmania, whether it be Launceston or out northeast or northwest of that area. And it's like, I think we dropped the ball on this one.
We got James and Jazz saying hi from Launceston.
Hey, how are you guys? It was great meeting you the other day. All right, Simbunji had a question, I'm assuming.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, just saying.
You were just bringing it up because I said next time Simbunji's online, I'm going to give her a hard time.
Yeah, that's it. And the excuse is they're also at work, so well, we might let that one slide. But
come on, that's the good Australian sickie, isn't it? Tassie was fantastic. Had a ball down there. You missed out, Simbunji. Make sure you're there next time. It was good fun.
All right, I've got another one from the email here. The first half of it, I don't think you're necessarily going to answer it. So basically about kind of what percentages you'd recommend splitting between something like an unallocated program versus a safe. So I don't think you're necessarily going to be able to touch that one necessarily. But the second half, how would you go about taking out things like insurance? We touched on this briefly in Brisbane, but my understanding is it's almost impossible to get decent insurance for bullion stored at home if it's under 20K.
It's actually not hard, particularly under 20K. It's not hard to get insurance for it. It's just flaming expensive. If you're storing smaller amounts, I can't tell you what to do in this sort of situation. It's not fair of me to say just self-insure because I don't know where you live. I don't know what your comfort level is. And although, there's 101 things we could throw in there. So I'm absolutely not saying that. But one of the advantages of being a bullion dealer and storing on site is that we can go and negotiate better rates. So the rate that I get is going to be far better than the rate you're going to get. I don't think I'm answering the question properly. I haven't come across a decent home policy for bullion yet. I may stand corrected, and there may be someone in the chat that says, hey, I go to XYZ Insurance, and they, I hope that's not an insurance company. I go to an imaginary insurance company, and they insure it quite reasonably for this amount. I don't know of anyone that does that, and it's why I tend to suggest that if you're storing a more substantial amount, that you look at putting it into a facility purely for that reason. Don't go to an insurance company. My suggestion is if you want a quote on a decent amount of precious metal stored at home, contact an insurance broker and have a talk to them. They may be able to tap into somewhere like where we go and get you a better rate.
So I'm just answering a couple via text there.
Urban Aerials, I wish they made a platinum rectangular dragon out of Perth Mint, but they don't. And I don't imagine they have any intent on doing it.
There's one here that I want to touch on because I think they've retracted it a couple of times, so I'm going to ask it while it's still up there. Can I place multiple orders and keep the coins or bars in storage and then come to collect from your shop?
That is exactly what we've designed our storage program around. So we give you 3 months free storage, and that way it allows people to buy a coin here and a coin there, and then at the end of 3 months they can say, well, I've got 25 orders there of, one coin here and one coin there. Either I'm going to make the trip into the CBD and pick them up, or I'll get them posted out and just pay the $17.50 or $25 or $30 insurance on it. Sorry, not insurance, freight on it. So that's exactly what that free storage program is designed around. So absolutely, you can do that.
Have you heard anything about the next in the Creatures of the North series, or Royal Canadian Mint being tight-lipped about it?
Royal Canadian Mint, when I said before that the mints are very good at responding to questions, they're very good to responding to retail questions. They're not so good responding to wholesale questions. Or
also just, future things. If you're talking about something that they can quickly look up, and they're allowed to talk about, it's probably one thing versus, give me details on the next release. It kind of has to go through a few more links in the chain, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Do we have a release date on Ram's Lunas in a Bullion grade as opposed to like their proof ones?
Sorry, say that again.
Ram's Luna take on the Lunar Rabbit. Do we know when the Bullion version of that is getting released?
I actually don't. I know they've put a delay on it. I think they've put a delay on it because of the Queen King effigy situation. But I don't imagine it's been a very long delay. So they will have them out, going by past history, they'll have them out before Chinese New Year. So it'll be later on. It's after Perth Mints usually, but it's certainly before the Chinese New Year.
Now, a hole you've dug yourself into that McDuncan wants to know about is the 1 ounce Platinum Tigers you said you might be able to have some coming through of. Any update on that?
No update. To be 100% honest, I hadn't forgotten about it, but we've been just a tad busy just lately, and with all the public holidays and everything. And believe it or not, I took a couple of days off and went up to the snow with my family. So, I've come back to a whole mountain of things that I need to chase, and that's just one of them. So I apologise that hasn't come to a head yet, but I believe it will in the not too distant future.
Have we decided in Queensland? Have you decided on where in Queensland you're opening a store? Margins are high up here.
I'm expecting this question at every single meet that we do around Australia, because we certainly got hit in Sydney and Hobart and Brisbane of when are you opening Bullion Now, fill in the city. In fact, one of the Victorian guys asked me recently, when are you opening Bullion Now Colac? So I don't think that one's happening yet. Look, I don't know is the short answer. We've got several ducks to get into a row, not least have been the bugbear of my life, which is our back-end system, the update to that. That has to be in place before we can actually say, yes, we're moving on this date to a store in Brisbane or Sydney or Hobart or anything along those sort of lines. So stand by for further news. It's not going to be this side of Christmas, but I'm definitely hopeful in 2023 you see other Bullion Nows appearing around the country or possibly even around the world.
Woohoo! We have briefly touched on this, so just a quick answer. But any PAMP coming in, silver or gold?
I was just reading Simbunji's comment.
Oh, I was going to get to that one.
Mate. Go again.
Any PAMPs coming through in either silver or gold?
Not specifically. The PAMP. The problem with PAMP at the moment we're finding is that the premiums have gone through the roof because the Americans have tapped right into the PAMP market and they are sucking the marrow out of the bone. So it's very difficult to get anything of a reasonable price. So I've kind of backed off the PAMPs a little bit just lately. But they will come back in eventually.
Did you want to answer Simbunji's question?
What? Yeah, how dare you take time off, take a break?
No, the follow-up.
Oh, it's skier or snowboarder. Well, I call it snowboarding. My kids call it falling down the hill.
I like that.
Face bleeding all the way.
Falling with style, I think Toy Story coined. Yeah.
Not even with style.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have to be one of the ugliest snowboarders on the mountain. I used to be a skier, believe it or not, but my kids refuse to be associated with a skier. So I've been convinced to take up snowboarding, and I would love to say I do it well. Matt wanted me to get a camera and do some snowboarding, like filming while I'm snowboarding, but it would have just been, clear blue sky, snow, clear blue sky, snow. But we had a great time up there, and none of us broke bones, which is the first time for a while.
You happy with an off-topic question rather? Urban wants to know if paramotor or glider tinnies are legal in Australia. He's phrased it as an aerospace question, so I'm assuming that's in your
I'm not
wealth of knowledge.
Are you meaning the ones that are attached to, like, we're talking tinnies as in boats? Because as far as I'm aware, they are legal. You'd have to go through the licensing for it, but as far as I'm aware, they are the amphibious type of paragliders and that sort of stuff. If that's not what you're meaning, just define what you mean by tinnies, because you're branching out into an area that I'm not au fait with. Ask me an aeroplane question rather than a paraglider or glider question, and we might have more luck. But yeah, just define what you mean by tinny, and I'll have another crack at it. Mark Twain's asking if we stock Germanium mint. Stand by on that one. We've just ordered about half a ton of Germanium mint bars, and they are stunning.
I'm excited for that one.
I'm hanging out for those to arrive.
Laurie Williams wants to know, now that the holidays are over, if we'll be finally opening on Saturdays. Have we got any solid dates on that yet?
Yeah, we have. Believe it or not, we're actually looking at opening the weekend after we finished our world tour. But I've put a hold on that purely because I can't stock the store Monday to Friday. I don't want to throw another day in there. So it will be in the not too distant future, but I'm going to push it out a couple of weeks till we get a better supply of stock back in again.
Exciting. We've again kind of something we've already covered a little bit, but inventory on the site is low. I am looking for gold and silver bullion coins. When will it be replenished? Hopefully soon is the the very quick answer to that.
We replenished it today. It's sold out again. We can't keep up at the moment is the short answer. We'll get there. Now,
this is the last question on the email questions that I had. In the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which you've spoken about before, the first law of gold says to put not less than 1/10 of earnings to the side. Is your interpretation of this that the 1/10 is set aside as pure savings, for example, emergency funds, or is this simply money used for investments, for example, shares? If it's for savings, do you consider gold to be saving the 1/10 should be put towards? I butchered that a little bit. Do you consider gold to be a saving that the 1/10 should be put towards?
Okay. Yes and no. There you go. There's a trick answer for you.
Ooh.
Look, I do. I think the 1/10 is for saving / investing. So I would consider, saving for an emergency fund, money for a rainy day. Absolutely, I would consider that to be part of the 1/10. But I would also consider investments. So if you were buying, gold, silver, shares, those types of investments, absolutely, that's part of your 10th. That 1/10 is basically designed around your financial future, your financial stability moving forward. So anything that builds towards that, absolutely, I'm a full fan of the 1/10 going towards. And in fact, that's what I encouraged my kids to do as they were growing up, to take 1/10 of their pocket money and save it. And they would save it, and then they would go, I remember once that one of my older boys saved up and wanted to buy shares in a toy company that was listed on the stock exchange, and that's how he got it. That's how he saved his 10% and then invested it on. At other times, I remember another one, and we didn't quite work out as cleanly as I'm stating, but wanted to save up some money for Ferrari. Was it Ferrari or Lamborghini? No, it's Ferrari. For Ferrari shares. Saved money because they couldn't buy the Ferrari. They wanted to buy shares in the company when they listed. So, things like that I think are great. And certainly part of the 1/10. Absolutely, I consider gold to be part of the 1/10. I'm a firm believer in the fact that it should be a component of your investments. I don't think it should be all of your investment, but absolutely, it serves a couple of purposes as a diversification away from other things, but also as an insurance policy, effectively. That stable corner that's not going to blow the lights out. It's not going to do a cryptocurrency where it goes up or down 1,000% in 10 minutes, but it's there for the stability of the future in 40 years' time. So it absolutely should be, in my opinion, this is not financial advice, part of that 10%, part of that investment. But I also think, and I was thinking about this while I was snowboarding, believe it or not, and I want to, Ruben and I was going to do it up in the snow, but I didn't get a chance, and it's something that I'd like Ruben and I to do, is actually moving some of that other 90% of your spendings indirectly into your savings. So, health insurance was what I was thinking about. If you have accident-prone teenagers like mine, you have a health insurance policy. Now, health insurance is... I challenge anyone to understand health insurance. It's not like car insurance where it doesn't matter if I hit a beat-up old car or, the new release Lamborghini. I pay my $500 excess and the rest of the problem is the insurance companies. With health insurance, it depends on what day of the week you had the accident. It depends on where you are. It depends on where you're going. It's just, there are so many ifs, buts and whens in health insurance. It's not funny. So I'm a big fan of what I term the health insurance ounce, where you use some of your health insurance that you pay every week. You use a component of that to buy an ounce of gold, and you stick that away for what ifs. So what if I have to go into hospital and the excess is $1,500? Well, I've got an ounce of gold. I'll sell the ounce of gold and I'll use that to pay the excess. So we carry 2 health insurance ounces because I have 5 kids and at least 6 of those 5 kids are accident prone. So we carry a couple of ounces of gold that we term the health insurance ounce, purely there to cover that excess if ever we come across, like we ever hit it. And I've just started thinking about with our car insurance, because I have teenagers that drive, to have a car insurance ounce, because the excess that we pay on our car insurance is humongous for when if the kids, heaven forbid, have an accident. So that's how to move some of your expenses into investments as well. Long answer to a very short question.
Zimbabwean fans are teaming up for a franchise of Bullion Now in the north of Tasmania, I think. That's some conversations happening there.
Love it.
Phil wants to know if we're able to say what the Germania Mint bar sizes are going to be.
There's a mixture from very small up to a kilo. I don't think we got any 100-ounce ones. Don't think so, but I may stand corrected on that. Actually, I might even be able to tell you.
I tried to have a quick look in the back end. I couldn't find anything, so yeah, I'm kind of relying on you for that one.
Okay, well, there's probably another way I can skin this rabbit. Just ask it. I'm in the wrong blaming thing. Okay, let's do it this way instead.
All the other ones I had were kind of also set for you, so I haven't got much to entertain with whilst you're hunting for that.
Come on, mate, start singing. I've heard you singing. Germain.
What would be the best way to know the value of bullion I own? So regarding, talking resale, like the collector's items. if you're not using us as a benchmark, I know eBay is kind of the big bad one, but it's kind of where a lot of it, it doesn't necessarily have to be eBay, but wherever they're kind of selling on that secondhand market. So if you can, find them on, a forum or on, Facebook groups or anywhere that you can find them available for sale is honestly the answer. It's obviously, particularly with eBay, you've got the fees to factor in there, as Urban's already told you. But yeah, that's kind of the answer. At the end of the day, once you're taking that metal value out of the equation, you're really just talking whatever anyone's willing to pay for it. So you just have to look at wherever anyone's actually buying them. And if it is one that we don't have or other retailers don't have, that's kind of all you've got to run on. Unless there was something, I know I'm asking that in the background while you're hunting for something, but if you heard any of that, unless there was another...
No, I wasn't overly focusing on what you said because I was chasing this up. But
we don't have some kind of catalog that we easily go to go, oh, that's what they're trading at now. Kind of, there's no real good way to do that. There's a couple of books that do that, but they're like, by the time they come out, they're out of date. Like from a bullion perspective, they're out of date. Even a slightly newer bullion collector side, they're out of date. It's not so bad for numismatics because they don't tend to run quite so quickly up and downwards. But yeah, there's nothing specific that I'd target. You just need to get a feel for the market, poke around a bit. I've got the invoice for the germanium mint stuff, but it hasn't been broken into, there's so many of this and so many of that. It's just a total kilogram category. So I can't tell you exactly the sizes, but I know there's some smaller sizes, and then there's up to the kilo, definitely. Luke wants to know why the Chinese pandas have such a high premium, especially for their weight. Because the 1 ounce silver, I was going to say the 1 ounce silvers, but that's the point, is they're not 1 ounce silvers, they're actually 30 gram silvers. They're ever so slightly below that ounce size. Yeah, why are the premiums so high? BDK's chimed in chat to say that they're just hard to get out of China and very popular in China.
Yeah. Look, it is. The wholesale premiums aren't set by us for obvious reasons. We're a retailer, not a wholesaler. And you kind of, you've got a captive audience. It's why we don't currently stock eagles. It's because the wholesalers have decided they've got a huge demand for them at the moment. And so they'll jack the premiums up. And until people stop paying those premiums, they're going to remain at that kind of elevated level. Similar with the Chinese panda, there's a lot of demand for the Chinese panda within China. So if you want to get them, they can satisfy their production with just demand internally. If you want them external from China, then you have to pay the premium for it.
Mark wants to know, this is kind of actually the opposite to a question we asked right at the start of the stream. What would happen if you bought a gold coin today for $2,560 and then the price of gold goes up to about $3,000 an ounce? What usually happens with the value of that 1 ounce coin? I think they're kind of asking, that's it with the, we discussed before how there would be a very big separation between the collectability and then the, what's going to happen if gold goes up though instead of down?
They will go up because at the end of the day, they will still be worth at least the precious metal price of them. So if they jump up $500, like if gold bars jump $500, I will guarantee you that the coin will jump at least $500, but quite often will jump more than the gold price, because somebody will say, well, if it's the coin's worth, let's say it's $300, when the gold price is at $2,500 for a 1 ounce bar. And that coin, because of its collectability, is selling for $2,800. When gold jumps to $3,000, they'll say, well, okay, at $3,300, actually, I'd probably prefer to, I'll snap up. If it's only $300 more than a $3,000 bar, that's a lower percentage. I'll snap that up, and you'll find very quickly that it'll move to more than $300. It'll jump to $3,400 or $3,500. So usually a jump in spot they'll at least go spot, but frequently they go more than spot up because it's more of a proportion thing. I don't mind paying $300 more for a $3,000 spot price, whereas $2,500 spot price I might only pay that $300 for. So yeah, usually it has a greater effect. And g'day, Stacey. It was great chatting to you up in Brisbane as well. So I was really pleased you came along and joined in.
Legbag raises a point there. What would you recommend for a coin that kind of isn't available on the second-hand market if you were either hunting for a price, hunting for a price of kind of what to value it at?
Yeah, that's a mongrel.
How would you go about that? Do you set the price at that point?
Yeah, look, you can, but you've also got to be reasonable. It depends. It depends if you're just hanging it out there. I don't really want to sell this, but if somebody offers me a stupid amount, I'll take it. Well, then you list it for a stupid amount. If you actually want to sell it, though, it's not rocket science to gauge the price. You look for comparisons. So, look, it might be that you've got a double Pixiu. Okay, so there's no double Pixius for sale at the moment. I can't find any history on it. There was a sale on eBay 12 months ago and it was this much, but I believe prices have moved quite a bit since then. So now I start looking at, well, what's an equivalent of that? Well, not a kangaroo because there's no real collector premium there, but maybe a super pit, similar mintage numbers. Well, probably not as popular yet as the double Pixiu is, so maybe I'll consider something else, possibly an emus. Again, similar mintage numbers, pretty good following. The Swan might be a better comparison. And I'd start looking at those other coins. Look, they're fetching that. I think this is slightly rarer, slightly harder to get hold of because there's been half a dozen sales of Swans over the last year where there's only been one sale of this. I'd squeeze another $100 or $200 on top. It's kind of that, like crystal ball gazing where you're trying to draw in related information but not direct information.
Mark says he hopes you're looking after Sylvia. She's worth her weight in bullion. we couldn't agree more.
Definitely. Sharma is, I can't pronounce it, Shutosh Sharma. If I buy bars and coins from your shop, will you confirm the purity using XRF gun? Absolutely. Absolutely we would. If you buy something from the shop and you say, look, any chance you can run the XRF over it, the guys will jump at it and do it, no worries at all. It's a bit different. A little while ago, I had someone buy about 2,000 silver kangaroos and wanted me to XRF every single one of them. My answer was, sure, but you have to come back in a couple of weeks' time before I'm going to have the time to do it. But yeah, look, you buy 2 gold coins, absolutely we'll zap them. There's nothing worse than going home and for the next 20 years going,
is that the real deal? Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they slipped me a Mickey. No, look, come into the store. I don't understand why people would go to a shop that didn't have an XRF, and I certainly don't understand why you go to a shop that wasn't very eager to test their product under the XRF in front of you, because my question would be, why not? Why won't you? I'm spending, particularly with gold, I'm spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 with you. I actually want to know this is the real deal, mate. Why wouldn't you spend 30 seconds zapping it and showing me what the purity is?
Just from a store experience, the only kind of exception I'm going to throw to that, or at least something to keep in mind, is that not some products will require us to get them out of the capsule or something like that.
Yeah.
We can shoot through a lot of the capsules that the XRFs will go through, but there are certain ones that are too thick, and so we cannot super accurately, trust the results that they're giving us. So it kind of has to turn into this either, we can get it out of the capsule, that's fine, but, you just have to kind of factor that in to your kind of collectability or, condition of it.
Look, some of the coins you can't, RAM capsules, once they're sealed, mate, getting them open again.
Yeah.
You're short of taking a hammer to them. Sometimes you cannot open them, and they are a thick capsule. And every so often, you will get erroneous readings out of them. Now, most times, our biggest problem is that you will get, you'll get interference from the capsule, and it'll show 98% purity or 97% purity. And look, as someone who handles them every single day, I know that that is the standard that I get through that type of capsule, and I'm okay with it. I know that coin's pure because if I cracked it open, I know it would test spot on.
Yeah, we're not seeing strange metals through there. We're just seeing some of the rays essentially bounce back onto it. So it's
Occasionally you get one that will just get you LE, which is basically it saying I have no idea what's going on here. The readings I'm getting back are totally erroneous. I'm just going to give you effectively an error message. those ones, yeah, look, yeah. We have to pull the capsule apart to actually have a look inside when we get that sort of thing. Fanta's actually adding to my answer, and it's actually a really good point. If you're buying regularly, get yourself a Sigma
Metalytics.
Thank you. A Sigma precious metal verifier. They're usually, I think even the larger size ones that can do, the larger bars and that, I think they're only about $1,500 to $2,000. So if you're regularly buying gold coins and that type of thing, they're a great, cheaper way to get them to test them yourself rather than relying on something like an XRF. However, again, you're going to have to remove them from the capsule for them to be able to cope with that.
Yep. I think we might have to start winding it up because we're starting to push and we're getting close to an hour and a half.
Wow!
Close to 4 o'clock. So it's
we have an appointment.
We do. That's good. David's managed to score their 1 gram platinum that we put up earlier. So
excellent. So glad, mate. See what happens. You ask the question, and we can sometimes act on it live. So again, look, thanks for tuning in. We are going to wrap it up there. If we didn't answer your question, I humbly apologise. Stay tuned for another one. We're going to do a live stream on Friday at 2:30 again. It'll be a bit more relaxed, a bit more casual. Not that, like I said right at the start, not that we ever get really stressed around here. Or you can tune in next week, or you can send us an email, live, L-I-V-E, at bullionnow.com.au, and we try and trawl through those emails and answer as many of those questions as we possibly can. So thanks for tuning in. Anything else you want to add to that, Rubes?
Just to expand upon a comment Urban's just made, we may be doing a tour on the stream. It's kind of yet to be 100% locked in, but there may be another potential stream happening from another location. We'll have to wait and see. We'll keep you guys posted if that ends up happening or not.
We could.
And there's a great pun in there from Mark. Thanks a Bullion, guys.
Anytime. Well, I say anytime. I don't mean anytime. I mean next time. So that's all good. Don't forget, Adelaide on Sunday at 2 o'clock, I believe, 2 till 5. Ruben will tell you where it is because I'm blowed if I can remember. And Perth, we're doing on the Monday, the 3rd of October. So we're going to meet at the Grosvenor Hotel across the road from Perth. And we're going to have a great time there. That kicks off at 6, I believe, Rubes.
I believe so. I may have to correct myself
on the Monday night. So if you've got chance, come along to those. I believe that there's a few tickets left for Adelaide. Not many tickets, if any, are left for Perth. We must be getting close to a sellout in Perth.
We are.
And yeah, look, come down a bit early. If you're out of town, come down a bit early and go to the Perth Mint. Have a wander around there. It's definitely worth a visit. It'll be a little bit chaotic because it'll be school holidays over there. But yeah, come on in and see the Perth Mint during the day, and then have a nice feed, and then come along in the evening and join us at the Grosvenor across the road there. And don't forget the big World Tour boat event for Melbourne. We're actually very close to, if not sold out, very close to the sellout on that one. That's Wednesday night, the 5th of October, and that will be a lot of fun and a lot of relief for some of us here at Bullion Now because we'll be finished the World Tour and we can focus back on our jobs again. But it's been a lot of fun. So tune in for that as well. There was something else I was going to throw in there and I've forgotten completely what it is. Oh, and on the Melbourne one, you will see the familiar faces of Matt, myself, and Ruben, but we've also encouraged a lot of the Bullion Now team to come along. So you'll probably get to meet the likes of Sylvia and Emma and some of the other crew that hide behind the scenes and won't get in front of the camera. But they've agreed to come along and meet everyone there. So come along, meet everyone, have a yarn, bring any questions that you've got that you've really wanted to ask a bullion dealer and you're not quite sure how, just bring them along. Corner one of us, either do it quietly. We'll also have some question sessions where you'll be able to ask the panel any questions that you want to ask. Even the really sticky ones, we're not frightened. I know there was one or two in Hobart and a few in Sydney that were a bit uncomfortable for me, but we soldiered on and we answered them anyway.
As best we could.
As best we could. I think I dodged one when it started to get a bit... I was worried I was going to end up in court over it.
We can't tread on toes, but we can...
Yeah, that's right. So come along. They're a lot of fun. Tune in Friday, 2:30. Like I said, we will be doing it live all over again. We'll have Matt here. We'll have Ruben here. and I may even make an appearance, and it will be a lot of fun for all of us.
Woohoo! All right. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See ya.